Welcome back to Bleav in Softball. I'm your host, Jenna, and however you got here today, whether it was an audio podcast platform like Apple, Spotify, etc., or watching on YouTube, thank you. Subscribe and rate the show wherever you get your pods. Also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bleav in Softball. That's BLEAV. There's also merch, as usual. Click the link in our bio on either of those pages, or go to shop.bleav.com to purchase 3 different shirts covering our bases, safer out, and catch you soon. All right, let's go through today's batting order. First, we will cover our bases. I'll share some call-outs from the softball world. Then we'll head into today's interview with the one and only Jennie Finch. She's one of the greats, one of the faces, and one of the pillars of our sport today. Just enough said. And then we'll end things with the foul tip of the week, where we share tips to help us get better. All right, let's go. Covering our bases. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. From the preseason NFL to college kicking off, BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our winner-take-all $300,000 NFL Survivor pool for the upcoming season. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today and use promo code Bleav, that's BLEAV, and get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. And the gear starts here too. You know, it's still summer for some, but fall sports and fall seasons are somehow already upon us. And Rip It has all kinds of stuff, from footwear like my Ringer Turfs I talk about all the time, cleats, to apparel like pants and sliding shorts, gear like helmets and face masks, accessories, belts, straps for the face mask, whatever you need, all the important stuff to play and practice. They have gear for a lot of other sports too, sports that I'm excited to cover this fall as well, like volleyball and soccer, and just attire for any athlete. Training tops, shorts, leggings, sports bras, just the works. Coolest part is always their mission to elevate female athletic performance. They get it. You know, as women and girls, we deserve gear specifically tailored to our needs, with a quality fit, elite performance, and unique to us. The best news is that Rip It is offering an exclusive 15% discount. Just use the code Jenna15 when you shop at ripit.com. That's JENNA15. Experience the same quality gear that helps so many ladies excel. Speaking of ladies excelling, the Paris Olympics. My goodness, the women showed up and showed out. So did the men, but I was very impressed by the women specifically. For Team USA, the most medals earned overall compared to any other country, 126, tied China for the most gold medals with 40, 65%. So basically about 2/3 of the gold medals for Team USA were won by women. Incredible. And then, of course, I have to shout out Stanford too. A school record 39 medals earned in one single Olympics. About 60 athletes, and it was 27 different events. So some people were teammates for the same event, for example, that were Stanford alum, but 27 events. So if Stanford was its own country, it would have been 11th in the world in medal count, tied with Canada. Incredible. And I just got to shout out the actual sports as well, because I'm very impressed just by the breadth that it covers. Water sports, swimming and diving, men's and women's water polo, artistic swimming, rowing, and sailing. And then also track and field, outdoors, women's soccer, then indoors, men's and women's volleyball, men's gymnastics, and fencing. Just so proud to be associated, even in a very small way, with these athletes. And some of my favorite moments overall, this could go on and on and on forever, but I felt like some of the best bronze medal moments ever that we have seen happened in Paris, you know, with men's gymnastics and of course, pommel horse man. They got the bronze as a team. He got bronze in the pommel horse specifically. And women's rugby also getting their first medal in the event was really something special to see for Team USA. And then on the silver level, artistic swimming, them moonwalking upside down in the pool to get the team silver, to something as simple as the meme of that Turkish shooter casually winning when he's just got one hand in his pocket, just totally freestyling. It appeared during his event. Gold, you can't really talk about without saying the names Simone Biles and Kayla Ledecky. I mean, goats. But also moments like Tara Davis-Woodall becoming the Olympic champion in the long jump. But not only that, then she goes and celebrates with her husband, Hunter, afterwards, who, by the way, is a double amputee and will be competing at the Paralympics that start August 28th. So we'll definitely want to tune in to support that as well. But just power couple. And if you look at the entire podium in different events too, was inspiring. The women's all around for gymnastics. You have the gold medal winner, Simone Biles, had public mental health struggles in the last Olympics and is now a mental health advocate. Silver medalist tore her ACL 3 times in 4 years. That's Rebecca Andrade from Brazil. And then the bronze medalist, Suni Lee, has kidney disease, and she fought to even do gymnastics at all ever again. So just an inspiration, all of them at the same time. Of course, Snoop Dogg and Flava Flav bring in just absolutely immaculate vibes. Doesn't hurt. I don't know if any of us had that on our bingo card, that they would be like the U.S. mascots almost for the Olympics, but I thought it was a good time. And, again, I could do a whole series on all of this, but I'm just happy to have had the special solidarity that seems to come with the Olympics. And it's going to come in LA 2028 as well. Softball is back, and baseball. But in Paris, we saw women's basketball get their 8th straight gold medal. Of course, women's soccer gets gold, women's volleyball gets silver. All are growing women's sports, but it felt like something was missing, and that was softball. So we're going to talk to Jennie about her Olympic experience and all of her insight in depth as well. And on the pro side, it's cool because if you look at Athletes Unlimited, who supports women's sports professionally, all 4 of the AU sports are going to be in those 2028 games: softball, basketball, volleyball, and lacrosse. So just more opportunity for women's sports. And I'm fired up about the current standings of AU softball right now as well. Again, my friend Amanda Lorenz, top of the leaderboard, really excited for her. 4 of the top 10 are Bleavers as well. Both Palacios sisters, Sash and Shar, as well as Megan Faremo, and maybe a 5th one in that top 10 coming soon. Stay tuned there. And the Little League Softball World Series has special ties to AU as well. It was the 50th anniversary of the Softball World Series, which is pretty cool to think about that it's actually been around that long. But last time, Sydney McKinney talked about how excited she was about the partnership that AU has with Little League. And there were some weather issues in Greenville. It wasn't exactly what everybody hoped for. But for the young girls, they got to move their games to ECU and they got to finish. And North Carolina won after finishing as the runner-up back in 2023 and just dominated without giving up a run. So congratulations to them. And like Sid said, and it's inspiring for the girls to see the pro players, of course, but it's also inspiring for the pro players to see them and to make an impact on those young girls who do aspire to be like them in college and beyond. And to bring it home, speaking of college, it's officially the new era of college athletics. The Big Ten and the ACC realignment is officially in place, became official on August 2nd. And I will be calling my first broadcast of the 2024-2025 school year, and the first for the ACC. This weekend, Stanford Women's Soccer hosting UC Irvine on ESPN Plus, Sunday, August 18th. Tune in. I'll also be doing men's soccer, field hockey, and lots of women's volleyball coming up this fall. I'm really excited about it. And it's extra exciting, too, I think, after watching former Stanford women like Catherine Plummer earn silver for USA Volley, and then Naomi Girma, Sophia Smith, and Tierna Davidson win gold for USA Soccer. They have helped pave the path for the current Stanford athletes who are competing. And, I get to help tell those stories. It's just my favorite part about the job. But someone who's helped pave the path at every level of softball is today's guest. So let's head into the interview. She is a 2-time Olympic medalist, USA Softball and Arizona Hall of Famer, 3-time All-American, Honda Award winner and NCAA national champion, NPF Pitcher of the Year with the Chicago Bandits, and MLB ambassador, called the face of softball by Time Magazine, Jennie Finch. Jennie, thank you for joining. I'm so glad we could do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And I love seeing, we're coming off the Olympics, so everybody on video couldn't see you in the background from, it looks like Athens 2004 with your wreath on after you won gold. Am I right?
Yes.
I love seeing that. Just watching the Olympics makes me think back to literally that exact Olympics, watching you all when I was growing up and having the Real Dream Team Sports Illustrated magazine. I still have it. And I just love that softball had that moment. Hopefully we have many more to come.
Yes. And for me, it was an absolute dream. It was everything and more than I ever imagined. I got to take the field with women that I looked up to, that I was in their autograph lines. And then here we are 8 years later in Athens, Greece, competing for a gold medal. So it was a dream for sure. And everything more. And then for it to be in Athens, Greece, where it all began for the Olympics, it was just truly magical.
Yeah. I feel like watching it, even just the Paris 2024 Olympics, it brought up even memories of me, like I said, just watching growing up, and then obviously Tokyo and things like that. But is it hard to believe that it's been 20 years since that Athens moment?
So hard. Crazy. I mean, and I guess I'm just officially old now because everyone says like time flies, but seriously, like, holy cow, time truly has flown by, and it just feels like yesterday. And here we are.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, but it was really cool. In my opinion, I'm sure you feel the same way, to see the women do so well in Paris 2024. I think it was like nearly 2/3 of the gold medals, for example, were all women for Team USA, and including women's basketball, women's soccer. And it makes me think of women's softball too, hopefully in LA 2028 being on that path.
Yes, for sure. It's so exciting. And I think too, and we're seeing media coverage expand for women and opportunity. And now with, social media, everybody kind of has their own platform, which is incredible, because I was thinking back and we truly relied on the media and what they put out and how much they put out, and they controlled it. And so now just to see these athletes have their own platforms and to see the coverage and just how easy it is to cover these athletes from all different angles. And so it's just so incredible to see how much we know about these athletes first and foremost, and how much they are being covered. And so I think like, heck yeah, we want Team USA to win no matter what. But in the past, it was only every 4 years that the women had this kind of coverage, and we got to tell our stories and kind of showcase our skills and what we do. And so especially even, I think the coolest thing about the Olympic movement is the sports that we didn't know about, or we still, I think back, softball was one of those sports. And now with the collegiate game being so popular and the coverage of that expanding year after year, we know more and we get to see our sport more. But there's still those sports that don't have that coverage, that have to wait every 4 years. And it's so fascinating just to hear the stories and just the time and effort and the sacrifice that these athletes put in to be the best at what they do. I love it. It's been a great 2 weeks, and I'm so sad it's over. It's like, what are we going to do now? We've been watching, the Olympics every night. And so it's like, here we go. Well, wait until softball season hits and the next, but for it, especially being in LA, couldn't be more pumped for our sport and for just the US to be able to host the Olympic Games.
Well, and you're from Southern California, right, too? So am I. So for me, I'm like, there's a little extra something special about that, I think, just to have it come home. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And I remember just hearing about LA 84, and now to think, oh my gosh, it's coming back. And then, obviously watching Atlanta and seeing the athletes, it's just a little different when it's on your, home turf. And so it'll be magical. I'm still trying to figure out the whole traffic thing and how it's going to work, but I try not to let that be too much of a doomsday with thinking about the Olympic Games coming to LA, but it's going to be magical. I'm sure they're going to have it all under control. They always do.
I feel the same way. Like, part of me has been like worried about that a little bit, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, they had it in 84, right? Like they've done it before. They'll figure it out again. Just not thinking about it too much either. Like I'm on the same page as you. That's really funny. But emotionally, I would imagine it's like very easy to, I don't know, react a little bit. Is it one of those situations where when you watch the Olympic Games, certain emotions or memories come back that kind of surprise you? Like you're like, oh, wow, I'm surprised. I don't know why I thought of that particular thing when watching it. Do those moments happen?
Yeah. And like for me, family stories always hit,
Yeah.
and especially now, I think as a parent, I'm like, I cannot even fathom, being able to watch your child do that. And then, yeah. And just, hearing different parts of people's stories, and it just brings back so much. And I think, I'm just so thankful that I had teammates to experience it with, and just how those memories are still so cherished in the bond that we'll forever have. Just kind of, and of course, like it's the Olympic Games, but it's so much more than that. It's the journey getting there, and the road and the memories and the grind it took leading up to those moments.
Yeah. Seeing the families is one of my favorite parts too. And the fact that we didn't really get to do that watching Tokyo either. Now getting it in Paris is next level. But does it make you look at your parents differently?
For sure. And I remember, so after we won in Athens, we went, I think it was the next day, and we didn't get to see much because a lot of sports, they compete for one day, which I'm thankful that it doesn't come down to one day for us. So it was 10 days of competing, playing. So you're in it. And then finally, like, we got to go experience something else, and being able to watch the women's soccer team win in 2004. And we sat right behind the families. And so it was just like, holy cow. And that's for me, like it's like, we did this, we won, a gold medal, and we experienced that. So I think that moment was for me when it hit home, but now still every time, like the families and the parents, it's just, and everyone's story is so unique, and their road to the Olympic moment, it's so fascinating just to hear. And if there's so many different paths.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the stories are definitely the best part. And of course, we're so happy for everybody's hard work paying off, if they're able to have that moment too. But being a parent now, like you said too, when you see your kids, and you have a son who plays baseball, like I know I've seen your daughter playing some softball as well, which is really exciting. Do you feel like that affects the way that you approach everything you're doing with the game now?
I think so. I mean, you try to be the best that you can, and you try to take, I think, all of your experiences, and you try to learn from it, and you try to make it better. And so I think like that's kind of who I am today because of those moments and because of that. And we've lived it, and we've experienced, I think, my husband and I, so much of just being a part of athletics, being a part of us, and us being a part of sport. And so, and then obviously it's been such a joy to be able to see your kids fall in love with, a sport and have those same moments. And I think you realize even more so it's the life lessons that you learn. Like, yeah, sports are amazing, but it's the character building, and it's kind of shaping who they'll be as a person forever. And just so thankful that they have that opportunity, and that they've kind of found their own path and their own journey, and of them playing the sports that they love.
Yeah. Well, and it's very cool. The fact that you married a baseball player too. It's obviously a lot of diamond sports, bat and ball sports going on in your house. I'd imagine the dynamic of that is pretty fun, entertaining, maybe even a little bit competitive at times. Like, how would you describe that within your family dynamic?
Yeah, for sure. And, Ace, okay, I'm going to take my dog. Ace, Mom, this is Frankie.
Hi, Frankie.
We're just so, like, even last night we're playing ping pong, and it's like, and the whole like birth order dynamic. I was like, kind of, I've researched that a little bit, just having, learning their personalities and stuff. And it's just so funny to see. And Casey and I both are so competitive. So I feel like it's just part of the atmosphere and environment in which we have raised them, and we live. And yeah, and they're so competitive with each other. And it's fascinating, I think, as a parent, because and I always said, the best coaches I had treated everybody like a team, but yet knew which individual needed what to be at their best. And I think like parenting is the same thing. Like you try, and like what works for my oldest doesn't work for my middle, and what works for my middle doesn't work for my youngest. And then trying to figure it out, because you don't know. And even parenting, right? Like, I always say, like, this is our first time doing it, with our oldest, like, you're going to have to give us a lot of grace, and we're navigating it too. It's like uncharted territory. We're doing the best that we can. And so it's kind of the same thing with just figuring out what they need to be at their best, and how to push them, and how to be, how to try to get the greatness out of them, whatever that looks like, whether it's on the playing field or in the classroom or whatever they do.
Yeah. Do you feel like parenting? Yeah. Do you feel like a coach to your kids? I mean, in life too, not just on the field.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and sometimes you just, and I think it's just, man, and like just sitting back and allowing them to be who they are, but yet still trying to kind of direct them and guide them and shape them and be here for when they fall. And so it's kind of, a culmination of a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Which must be really interesting. It's just so full circle. Everything is. I feel like everything always comes all the way back around, even if we don't realize it until later. But yeah. I remember when, and maybe this means, I guess I'm getting older too, because I remember when it came out that you named your first son Ace, and it just felt like perfectly on brand. Like it just felt right that you would have a kid named Ace. But then obviously you've added like Diesel and Paisley as well. But with that dynamic, like I said, you have your daughter, but you have your sons playing baseball, your husband, of course. You've always had a really strong partnership. Like you're an MLB ambassador, for example, like baseball, softball relationships have always seemed really important to you. Why has that been at the forefront?
I don't know. I think it's just the path that I've been on, and I feel so blessed. And I remember thinking and watching all the older softball players. And I've admitted it to a couple of them, like, just, I don't want to be a lifer. Like, I want to get married and have kids, and there's so much more to softball, and then when you get there, and I remember walking up to Lisa Fernandez after the 2004 games, and I was like, Lisa, I get it. Like, I get it now. Like, I understand why you still do this, and what a gift and a dream that it is that you still do this, and I remember just after Athens being like, maybe I want to be a lifer, and and it's just been such a blessing, and it's allowed me to be able to do so much and build and shape and create who I am. And now to be able to, I think the greatest thing, like even with the gold medal, I always say, is being able to share it. And so, thousands and thousands of young girls have worn the medal, have touched it, have felt it, and sharing that Olympic moment with them. And I think that's where I just remember being that young girl and being able to, and my parents, like, we didn't watch it on TV. It wasn't on TV. So they would, drive me down to different parks where I remember watching Debbie Doom pitch, and like women's leagues and women's games. And you'd get word of, Michelle Granger's pitching here. And so my parents would take me to go watch. And, even I remember going to watch Lisa Fernandez's pitching workouts, because it was at Artesia Park, and that's where I would go work out. And so it was like, oh, Lisa's pitching. So I would remember just standing behind the backstop watching her. And so it's just being such a big part of who I am, to be able to like see the game and help grow the game and provide just more opportunities for the future. I think that's just kind of been my life mission. And, I remember just being that little girl with a dream and being able to go after it and chase it. I'm so thankful that I was able to do that. And, now working with Major League Baseball, it's just one of my girls called me yesterday and was like, I just committed to college. And so to be able to help those girls that maybe don't have as much access and just see them live their dream, it's everything. Like you said, full circle. And I couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity to be able to still be involved in the game and still invest in the future and still push forward. I'm doing some consulting for AU Athletes Unlimited now. And so just trying to continue to make it better and for our daughters to not have the challenges. They're still going to have challenges, but obviously just have greater opportunity than we did. And I think that's what my mom and my grandmother did for me. And so I'm just kind of carrying that torch, and softball and baseball have kind of been that avenue for me to do that.
Yeah. I always feel like people who played at a really high level or just invested a lot in the game always find a way to stick around to the game, whatever avenue that looks like for them. You find a way to where it's like, I'm not completely ever going to be like cut off from this game. But I feel like some themes that I've seen, even talking with you, talking with Jess Mendoza, Natasha Watley was one of my first interviews ever on this show. The giving back part is really central for all of you, it seems like. But do you consider that actually giving back or paying it forward?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I think a little bit of both. You know? And I think we all give back in our own ways. But then again, I feel like there's responsibility with what we've been given and the platforms that we've been given. And so, and it's so crazy because like you're there to give back, but it gives you tenfold always. Like no matter what you're doing, it always happens that way. And I'm so thankful that, because there's this like fulfillment for me too, like being able to be invested in and now pour into these girls and see them live their dreams. Like it's even better than me doing it myself, you know, and even like coaching my daughter's team. It's so much fun to see it click and to go to the valleys with them and, you know, ride the peaks and the highs and the lows of not only the game, but more importantly, life with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine it's like one of the more rewarding parts. But that's the thing is you guys, especially the Real Dream Team, right? Like there was this platform that hadn't existed in that exact way, like you said beforehand. And I would imagine that it was also difficult kind of with all that attention at the same time, but then you're kind of figuring out a way, okay, how do I channel this into something that is positive and that I'm comfortable with? And it seems like you all did a good job of doing that.
I think we tried, you know, we tried to do the best we could. And I look back to a lot of times in, you know, my off days, I was traveling somewhere to do an interview or something because it was like, how can I turn this down? Because our sport has never had this opportunity. Our sport has never had this platform. Like we got to do everything that we can to continue to grow the game and to take advantage of the things that the women before us didn't have and the men that have fought so hard for us to be able to do these things. And, you know, I said this a couple of times, but walking into the Women's College World Series with my daughter and like her thinking the triple deck and 12,000 fans is normal, you know, and just walking into the house and seeing softball on TV, like this is everyday life for her. And so I cannot wait. I mean, I can wait. I don't want time to go any faster, but it's just, man, like we didn't see it and we dreamed it and, you know, we're able to live the unseen, but like, man, to see what this generation and the next generation is going to do because they have seen it and even just women all across the board in every area, you know, it's just so cool that, you know, my 11-year-old thinks she can do anything. And where we didn't have that, you know, we always heard a man's voice when we were watching sports, you know, and now you don't even think anything of it. It's just so cool. And I always heard the older generation like, oh, you know, you're not grateful, but it's like, at some point we've worked so hard for them not to have to be grateful, just to be able to, that's normal, you know, and that's what we fought for, is for that to be normal. And so it's just very, very cool. So thankful. And I can't wait to see what the future holds.
That is such a tough balance to strike because, of course, gratitude in general, like obviously that's a good thing, you know, but you want to keep pushing forward. So yeah, how do you balance that from a day to day?
Well, I think, you know, exposing it was really neat to have Paisley get to meet some of the all-American girls, baseball league players, you know, at the All-Star games and different events. And I think too, just sharing part of history, you know, we got to go to Kansas City, you know, a couple weeks ago and got to see where the Negro League started. And so to be able to share that history and the hardship and the battles that those men faced, that those women faced, to get us where we are now. So I think it's just, being able to share the history, but at the same time, continuing just to push forward and, taking advantage of everything that they can. But obviously, yeah, always with a grateful heart.
Yeah. But you said it too. I mean, it definitely not in the same way as it is today, but you would go watch. You saw Lisa, right? Like growing up, and you'd watch, and then that helped inspire you to go on and do more. And you just keep the path going, right? Like every generation does as we continue. And now you can just see it, like you said, any day during the spring, you turn on the TV and Paisley can see softball on TV. It's incredible. But I feel like when you came up was such an interesting time, because you did have like the Lisas, the Debbie Dooms, like you said, but then the real true like next level coverage started with you guys, with the Olympics, et cetera. And then now it's blossomed into something even larger. But how was that sort of experience going from like, okay, I watched some of my idols to then I played with some of my idols to then I became some people's idols, and going through that entire sort of evolution?
Yeah, just thankful, I think. And obviously like learning from them, watching, and just a wild, incredible ride, and you don't think about it very often. You're just, living your life. But yeah, and I remember, hearing about Lisa Fernandez and Dot Richardson having their own bat and like dreaming of that one day. And then, me signing with Mizuno, I was like, it's just not a bat and glove. It's cleats, it's batting gloves, it's and just how it still like pinched me when you walk into the store, and there's a glove with my name on it. It's wild. And then now just to see the platforms that the girls and women are playing at now, it's so surreal. And just to think, you just had a small part of that, and you were able to, you just want every young person to be able to go after their dreams. And I think to just be passionate about something, I feel like, man, I'm just so thankful that I truly love something this much and was able to play the game that I loved and be able to do that, because I think, that's a gift.
Yeah. And I feel like you all also, you were able to be yourselves, right? Like you, I think of, and I think most people do, as you really introduced pink like into all of this merch and all the gear that we're talking about. Like that was something that felt like it was synonymous with you. Like that was just something you, that people associate with you. And the sparkly headbands too, that everyone for a long time, I think I had one at one point, like we were all wearing and stuff. That part, that expressive part, like the ability to also kind of like be yourself and express yourself through those things. How was that experience?
Honestly, it was kind of a battle in a way, because, and it was like, man, like you can be whoever you want and still be dominant. You don't have to kind of fall into this, cookie cutter approach, or, like being tough doesn't mean that you have to always kind of, look tough, and dominance comes in all different shapes and sizes. And I always say like, that's one of the coolest things of the Olympic Games is you're walking around the Olympic Village and seeing, and I think our game too of softball, like all different shapes and sizes. There's not just, one way. And so that was, being able to wear a ribbon in my hair. And I remember having a coach who's like, you don't wear ribbons. You should not wear ribbons in your hair. Like that's a sign of weakness in a way. And I was like, no, I can wear a ribbon in my hair and I can strike you out. Like that. No, it doesn't matter, And even with the whole pink thing, it was okay. And I remember like, it wasn't cool to be an athlete, when I was growing up, but I fought hard to like, and I'm so thankful for my teammates around me, because we were all fighting the same battles. Like, heck yeah, it's cool to be strong and be powerful and be explosive and be a female. And we've watched it for years, over and over. But I think just to be able to kind of diversify what dominance and excellence looks like, and you don't have to kind of be this, I don't know, whatever stereotype that was, but now, and even just, watching the Olympic Games, like you said, like, it's so fun to see the different personalities and the flair and kind of shine through, and excellence comes in all different shapes and sizes. And I remember, when Mizuno was like, well, okay. And Mizuno's a very kind of just, conserve. They're not going to go, out there. They're not going to, but I'm so thankful just because of who they are, and the consistency and the pride that they put into their products. But so that was a big move, doing that. And I remember too, like, if I have pink on my glove, I better be really good. Like, you can't just wear pink and not be good. And I got a lot of heat for it, even on, the USA team. They're like, what, Finch? Of course, that's, whatever. But it was just cool for young girls just to be able to, I think, have that option and to know, you can be whoever you want to be and still go compete and be dominant and shine through.
Yeah. Well, being that kind of representation, again, do you find that there was more inspiration from that or more pressure from that? Or what were like the feelings that you had kind of being one of those role models like that?
It was just, it was fun to, I think, be original and to be able to bring maybe something a little different into the game. And then, I think being able to, so I started co-hosting This Week in Baseball, and that's when kind of like the media attention really kind of started, was me being able to face major leaguers. And even looking back at it, it's like, why did I have to face men to validate what I did and how I did it? But at the same time, like, man, I'm so thankful that I had that opportunity, because there's credibility in Alex Rodriguez standing in the box saying that's a Randy Johnson slider, and so just, and it provided another platform. And I think, it allowed our game to get into the homes and minds and hearts of people that normally wouldn't be exposed to softball, and to be able to kind of showcase truly what we do. And I think it's one thing to see it on TV, but when you get to see it in person, it's a whole different ball games. But how special that was to be able to have that platform and be able to go into major league ballparks. And as the baseball fan in me, being able to pick the brain from an athlete to an athlete. So it wasn't just, this reporter or, but it's coming from an Olympic athlete being able to tap in and learn from major leaguers and get to know them and be able to kind of showcase and put my skills against their skills on the playing field.
Yeah. I do remember enjoying seeing you striking Major League Baseball players out. Like, I think I remember you struck out Pujols at one point, and there were other people, and just seeing them whiff. I agree with you, though. It's this weird balance of like, why did you have to do that for them to like actually be like, oh, okay, she is legit. Why did Billie Jean King feel the need to play against a man, right? But she beat him. So then there is that extra element that, like, I don't know, we as female athletes are really proud of at the same time. But there's something a little sweet about that. And I'm sure that maybe comes up occasionally in your family with some baseball guys in the mix with you and your daughter.
Yeah, but I think, honestly, we're to the point now where of course I don't know. The other day, Diesel was like, Mom, you hit in college? Or you hit? I'm like, yeah, I had 50 home runs. What are you talking about? But the fact, like, here we are, he's a baseball player, but like never even, Mom, you hit? I'm like, what? Get me out of here. So we don't really, it's funny because we don't really talk much about kind of, what we did, other than like if they bring it up or see something on the internet for the most part. But yeah, and I think it's so neat too, because I don't even think like Paisley is like, but well, it is cool because like at recess, she plays with the boys, her and her, couple jock friends of hers, like they play, and she loves flag football, which kind of turns into tackle football at recess. But that's like her favorite thing to do, is play football with the boys. And she doesn't even think anything of it, and I love the fact that, she gets picked, and her and her friends get picked in the top picks, to be on their team. And the boys don't think anything of it either, which is cool. It's just, they want, someone who can play ball with them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right. It's like you kind of fought for that for it not to be a big deal, for them not to think anything of that, right?
Right.
But then when it does happen, I'd imagine you're like, oh, yeah, this is kind of what we wanted. That's weird that it's now realistic.
Right, right.
Yeah. But I always remember too on the sparkly headbands too, and even just in general, your motto was always dream and believe, obviously. And I think it's clear from even just us talking so far where that's kind of coming from. But just to ask you straight up, why was that what you really felt like resonated with you, that motto?
Okay, so confession, I stole it from a teammate. So Mackenzie Vandergeest, she was one of my catchers in college, and Mackenzie is just Mackenzie. You got to know her, and you're gonna love her. And she's all in. And I was like, man. And we were signing autographs after a game at Arizona, and I was like, everybody wants you to write something, like. And we wrote "Bear Down" at Arizona. Just that's part of the motto of Bear Down. Great story goes with that. But and so it was like, I need something for, and Mackenzie was like, dream and believe. And I was like, oh my gosh. It's like, I love it. That's it. Dream and believe. And so from that day forward, I kind of stole her motto that she helped create, and dream and believe came it, because it's all about having the dream. And then I think you got to believe in it. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe that you can accomplish that dream. So it just was perfect.
I love that you're giving her credit though. So she can't, she can't say that you didn't, because you clearly are. I actually think I remember, this would have been way back. Cause like I said, I'm from Southern California too. I'm from Camarillo, where Mendoza's from.
Oh.
But I remember her family, I don't remember why, but anyway, just growing up, at some point her mom was around and her family was around. And I remember hearing about stories from Arizona and things too. So it made me just think of like, oh yeah, I remember seeing her play a little bit. And I remember it's like when you saw Lisa at the park a little bit, like it all comes back together like that.
Yeah. And really cool. So she like woke up to a fire engine alarm. That was like her dream, was to be a firefighter. And now she's a firefighter for LA City. So very, very cool. She's actually dreaming and believing herself. And she played in the pro league too. She had an incredible season, played USA baseball as well. So, And we text the other day. So, I love being able just to, that the sisterhood and the bond continues.
Yeah. And you said too, playing pro, I feel like that is a whole, other element to our softball world too, of course. And you said too, that you are, an advisor helping out with like Athletes Unlimited, and they're in Rosemont, and the stadium is literally 27 Jennie Finch Way is the address for where they're playing from your time with the Bandits. Is that surreal too, to see those types of things?
Definitely. Just so thankful. And, being able to be a part of the Chicago Bandits and play in Rosemont, and living out my dream. And, there's only 15 women that could play USA softball. And so, and there was and still is so much talent in our game. It's like, we've got to find a way to be able to let this talent continue to play, because there's so much out there. And so not only does 15 players get to go on and live their dream now, it continues on. And so, yeah, just so thankful that, and they're still playing in Rosemont. Athletes Unlimited is there now. And so, yeah, and it just grateful that people will invest in our game, in our sport, and continue to provide opportunities. And I think we're well on our way. We've had kind of a rough road with the pro stuff, and it's hard. And you look back at even the male pro leagues, like there's a lot of failure that goes into building what it is today, and nobody talks about kind of the rough years that it took to get where it is now. But I think hopefully we're on our way, and I'm excited to see what the future holds on so many levels. And there's the WPF, and there's other pro opportunities too. And like Natasha and Monica Abbott, that several teammates have been over in Japan, and so and just to be able to share that with young girls, like you can go play in Japan and you can go, I had some friends play in Italy, and it's just so exciting to see how far we've come and the opportunities that are there.
Do you think there's a role for Major League Baseball to play in terms of supporting professional softball?
I do. I do. I think, we kind of have to get it right ourselves first. But I think we're on our way, and, Major League Baseball has stepped up in a huge way on the grassroots level. And I'm so thankful to witness and to experience firsthand what they are doing and how they are investing in young girls, baseball and softball, and being able to be a youth ambassador for them. And so I think it's started, and again, we got to be thankful for what we have, and hopefully eventually we'll get there. And they are supporting it, in ways, but hopefully that will only continue to grow in a larger way.
Yeah. Like I remember you saying it wasn't necessarily cool growing up, to be athletic or to be an athlete for women, for young girls. But I feel like certain sports are really starting to take off. Obviously, softball's in the mix, but even with professionally speaking, the WNBA with basketball, the NWSL with soccer, they're becoming like kind of cool, like they're becoming more and more mainstream, if that makes sense. I mean, we always thought they were cool, but just like on a mainstream level. And I'm wondering, I think we could get there too. And I think like we're on our way. Like there are certain things that are in place, like you said, but I feel like the Olympics might play a pretty big part in that too. Like the fact that we didn't have it, we had it again, we didn't have it in Paris. Now it's coming again with 2028. You've been a big inspiration in terms of like pushing for it to stay in the Olympics, to get back in and then stay. What has that journey been like? Because, you said it, there are some rough roads in pro, but this has been kind of a challenging road for us too in softball.
It has, I think, and I don't think we're ever helpless, but truly you just felt and have felt helpless when it comes to trying to be a mainstay on the Olympic docket. And, having it, so 96, 2000, 2004, 2008. And then I think it was in 2006 when we were notified that we were dropped from the docket for 2012. And it was like, how can this happen? Like the sport has never been more popular. And especially, I think, being a part of Title IX and witnessing firsthand, like the opportunities just continue to grow. Like, how in the heck can they be taken away? Like, how do they even do this? Like, and how can the Olympics even drop a sport? Like it's just you can't make it up. And it was just the unthinkable. And I just remember Coach Kendrea saying, the best thing we could do is showcase the game and play it like we've never played it before, and just leave everything we can on the field, and do what you can with the game and the opportunity and the platform that you do have. And one of the things that he always talks about is control the controllables. And I think, man, as hard as it is, and sometimes you feel like you're banging your head against a wall, you just got to keep grinding away and keep building and growing. But the hardest part is, and I think us in the U.S., we're okay. Obviously, we have the collegiate game, and we have just so much more at our fingertips than other countries. And to see how far our game grew worldwide in those years being on the Olympic docket, and there's funding when you are on the Olympic docket. And so, these national governing bodies now were cut from that funding once we were dropped from the Olympics. And so here in the US, we kept moving forward, but those other countries, it was completely lost. And so, man, it's like 20 years of grind and growing and building. And finally, we saw countries just continue to get better and to get better. And the talent level, it bridged that gap, and then just to be wiped away, man, a huge blow. So hopefully, yes. And obviously it's switched, now the Olympics I think the host country can add 3 sports to each games. And so we have LA coming up and then Australia. And so hopefully I would think that we would be in the next two, but you still don't want to take that for granted because like we know, just like that, it can be wiped away and gone. So hopefully we will kind of solidify that spot in the Olympic Games and do the best we can with what we have coming up in LA in 2028. But I'm hoping.
Yeah, I just think it's certainly helped women's soccer. Obviously, the World Cup is huge for women's soccer too, and soccer in general is a very, very global sport. But with basketball as well, it seems like to have these types of opportunities with Team USA, I remember that's like what it was all about. It was like, oh, everyone wanted to play on Team USA growing up. And when it got taken out of the Olympics, that was a blow. People still felt that way, but it was different. So when it's back, I think it's really exciting, but I agree with you. We just want it to stay at this point, but we have some work cut out for us, one thing at a time.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And luckily we're on the upside right now, looking towards 2028. And I think, women's sports is just, it's never been invested in like it has been. And so I'm hoping that this can be the turning point for not only domestically in the professional league, but hopefully, and I think the true win would be for just us to be able to lead globally, which I think we've fallen as USA softball, as America for the game, unfortunately. So hopefully we can continue to kind of carry that responsibility and, yes, help the game within our country, but more importantly, elsewhere.
Yeah. That does make me think of Candrea too. You obviously brought him up. How could you not? How could he not come up in this conversation? But even him helping with Italy, right? And,
right.
And support in that way. And you're one of a group of women who played for him collegiately and internationally. And I remember bringing that up to Leah Amico too. I'm like, I feel like it must have been a really fun atmosphere in that way to see him in both ways. But also, I've asked him this. I'll ask you. How much red, white, and blue do you own at a certain point? If it's all Arizona and all USA, like, is that it? Just red, white, and blue?
It worked out really good, I have to say. Yes. We were just kind of kept growing the red, white, and blue closet space. Yeah. So it worked out good that it fit for both.
Yeah. And I'm sure that was like a little nice, especially with all your UCLA teammates at the time. You're like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's really funny. But, and you talked about, so many of your teammates played in the Pac-12, Pac-10 at the time, even Pac-8 at one point before that. And now things are changing a lot. But I was excited to see that you are on the Big 12 Alumni Council as Arizona moves into that conference this year. Why was that important to you in this huge shift in collegiate athletics?
Yeah, again, like, how does this happen? Like, the world we live in is a wild thing, and nothing's permanent. I feel, nothing's guaranteed, and it hit hard again. Like, how can the Pac-12 just be no longer? Like, how does that even happen? But here we are. And so again, it's kind of making the best of it and controlling what you can control. And if I can try to help, move the needle forward and keep the tradition of University of Arizona and everything that it has allowed and given me, and kind of keep pushing for that for the athletes. And as hard as it is, embracing the future and embracing what it is now, and that's Big 12. So it's an honor to be able to be a part of that and to serve on the Athlete Advisory Council.
Yeah. One of the silver linings for me is the fact that, ASU is still going with Arizona. There's still like that rivalry that'll travel together to the Big 12, even with Stanford and Cal going to the ACC, you still have that in place.
Right.
So some of those things, I'm like, at least we have that still, because you have to like root against the Sun Devils for life, right? If you went to Arizona. So
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Way to cling to the positive of it all.
Right.
Yeah, we still have those rivalries that we'll carry in.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just think it's nice to also just know that they felt it was important to have someone from softball also on that council. Obviously, Arizona should be represented, of course. They're one of the new members of the conference. But to look at someone like you and be like, yes, we need her from this sport that she came from to be a part of this. Like, I think that speaks well to our sport, hopefully, too.
Yeah, again, and just, kind of taking advantage of the opportunity, and so grateful for the opportunity to represent our sport of softball on that. Yeah, good point for sure.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the wrap up, I do want to, I think a lot of people know how to follow everything that you're doing, but you're doing so much. So can you let everybody know how they can get involved with everything that you're working on and follow you?
Yeah, mainly just probably Instagram or Facebook. I'm kind of old school. I haven't really embraced the whole TikTok thing yet, even though I probably should. My Instagram is jfinch27, and then Facebook is just Jennie Finch.
Awesome. Yeah. It's so cool, like you said, to be able to see, right? And I think Meg Aronowitz from ESPN says, show it to grow it all the time. You're saying dream and believe, to see it is important. So even something as simple as them seeing, your life and snippets of it on social media can be inspiring for them to want to do whatever path they want to do in life moving forward.
I hope.
Yeah. Well, I do a game with everybody, a quick one to wrap up. It's called Safer Out. And basically I'll just bring up a topic, and if you like it or you agree with it, you call it safe. If not, then you call it out. So you get to be the umpire for once, basically.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is shorts in the uniform instead of pants, like you guys used to wear with USA. Wearing shorts, safer out.
Out.
Not a fan? Okay.
Not a fan of shorts, no. But not many people know, so there was like a rule in the Olympics back in the day, and I think it stemmed from like differentiating from the women to the men, baseball and softball. And so we had to wear shorts. And so it like blows my daughter's mind now. Like, how did you play in shorts? And you had to be really good at sliding. You had to, your knee had to take the brunt of it. And we wore knee pads. Like very similar to volleyball. So yeah, their mind is blown by the fact that we wore knee pads and that we were able to pull off shorts. So it does require talent. And now there's so many turf facilities now too. Like, oh my gosh, that will tear you up. And with how hot it is, those turf burns, everything else. Yeah. Oof. Pants all the way.
Yeah. I'm with you. Even just from the perspective of tan lines, it was not fun.
Oh no.
having those tan lines.
Yeah, good point. I forgot about that. Oh gosh.
Yeah, not great. It's like, if I'm not going to be tan, I'd rather it be at least even,
yes,
than the stripes that we used to have. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. And we already touched on this, but just for the record, conference realignment, safer out.
Out.
It's tough.
It is tough. I just think of travel, the main thing. Like, man, traveling was a grind in the Pac-12, and I can't imagine going cross country.
And did you have to do the like split? I remember my freshman year we did, where we'd play, let's say, like one game at ASU, and then Saturday, Sunday, we'd play 2 games at Arizona. And then we'd split that, like later on, we'd kind of do that, but at home. Did you guys have to do that too?
I'm trying to think. Yes. Well, and I think my freshman year, it was a doubleheader at each.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So we played back to back. So 2 games Friday and 2 games Saturday. And then I think it went to the 3 games over the weekend, and it was 1 and 2 or the split.
Oh, because I just think about how rough it was with UCLA and Washington, that they were always paired because there's no Washington State team, no USC team. So doing that trip, like playing UCLA and then flying to Seattle that night and then playing that, and that was tough. Like you're saying, it was already, there were some tough things. They don't do that anymore, thank goodness. But it should be. I'm really, really hoping that there's just a lot of investment in, resources and things to support the athletes throughout it all.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be rough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, luckily, I think for Arizona and Arizona State, not too bad in terms of time zone changes and things. You're just kind of going more east
Right.
than west now. But
Yeah.
yeah. All right. The last one is bat flips. Safe or out?
I mean, I love a little excitement, but I would have to say out.
Most pitchers do say
I
out. But you hit 2, right? So that's why I'm like, what's your perspective?
And Coach Kendria, we Arizona alumni text thread that we have. So like, I remember, I don't know what year it was, like my sophomore year or something. Coach is like, no more celebrations for the home runs. Like, we're supposed to hit home runs. You're supposed to act like you are a home run hitter. And so literally he banned us even going to home plate. And so it was just like, I did my job. I hit a home run, boom. And I think like, I appreciate that aspect of it, where I feel like now it's like everything's for the highlight reel. Everything's for the social media posts, where it's like, just act like you're supposed to do it,
Yeah.
So I can appreciate kind of the personalities coming out, but at the same time, I would say I'm probably more old school, and maybe I'm showing my age, but
no, most pitchers I've talked to feel that way, even if they hit too. Like Danielle Laurie hit in college too, and she was like, no. Like, it's been a pretty consistent. If somebody were to bat flip off you, how do you think you would have reacted?
I mean, what do you do? I mean, you just gotta take it, I guess. But it's kind of like, get out of here with that.
Yeah.
And next go around, you might get a couple high and tight, but
yeah.
I would work that much harder for you not to be able to do that again. But I feel like a home run is a sting enough, let alone a bat flip being hit off or having it done off you.
Yeah. If this is obviously very hypothetical, but if you were to hit a home run off yourself, do you think you could hit a home run off yourself, first of all? But if you did, would you be like, maybe I will bat flip?
No, I mean, and I don't know if I would have been able to. I don't know. But if I did, I'm just not a bat flipper. No.
Yeah. Nope. Fair.
I'm here for the high fives. I'm here for the celebration with my teammates, but I'm not trying to. Yeah. And I would be like, like with my old school and me, like I would get in trouble. Like we'd have to run laps the next day or something, like, yeah.
And you're like, no, thanks. Yeah.
I don't think the coaches I had would be for it either. So we'd probably have limitations on it, which I would be okay with.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I'm trying to implement that in my 11, 12-year-old girls too, which, like Coach Gasso said, you have to adapt to the times. But at the same time, I feel like you could still keep some of the old school within you.
Oh, yeah. It's a balance, right? Like anything else. Well, thank you again for doing this, Jenny. This was so fun. You have been somebody I've wanted to have on the show for a really long time. I'm so glad that we could do this. I think 10-year-old me would be like, what? You like in, I won't say how many years, get to interview Jennie Finch, like that's so cool. And so I just appreciate you always giving back and paying it forward, like we said earlier, to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love those moments. Those are the best.
Yeah.
So glad I could be part of that.
Yeah, me too. I wish.
Thanks for shining light into the game and of the players of the game.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Next time I'll actually show you the Real Dream Team magazine I have packed away somewhere, but
I got mine too. I have mine too.
Perfect. Just thrilled to have Jenny on the show. I said it at the top. She's one of the faces of softball and just most importantly, a role model for women and girls. And now it's insane to think that I have interviewed 10 out of the 15 of the Real Dream Team roster from Athens 2004. I never really thought of it as a checklist, but it just was such an influential time for softball. And, for me personally and for just generations that have come since then. And it's special because of that. So with that, let's transition to the foul tip of the week. This week's foul tip is about learning from other people. Throughout the conversation with Jenny, it stood out to me how she was open to learning from other people. Whether it was watching her idol Lisa Fernandez pitch, or listening to her coach at both the collegiate and international levels, Mike Candrea, and his words of wisdom, or even getting her iconic motto, Dream and Bleav, from her college teammate, Mackenzie Vandergeest. All of those things enhanced her career and made her better in different ways. She had to be open to them for all of it to resonate with her. I just have noticed that the smartest people that I know realize that there's a lot that they don't know. So it's basically like the more knowledge you gain, the more questions you answer. But the more questions you answer, the more questions you have. And CEOs that I've worked with in the past say that they find success because they surround themselves with people smarter than them, or at least they are the experts in their respective fields. But, to even do that requires for you to admit that you don't know everything. So you need a team of people who together might know everything, or at least most things. Don't get me wrong, we shouldn't devalue our own expertise. We also have a lot to bring to the table. We should stick with our gut, but there's just always room for more. I learn from every single guest that joins this show, whether it's this life-altering revelation or just the smallest phrase that happens to click for just a tiny adjustment in something. I always pick up on something. And if the most successful people in the world in all kinds of spaces can be open to it, why shouldn't we? So that's it. Learn from people. That's the foul tip of the week. You've been listening to Bleav in Softball, part of Bleav Network and presented by BetOnline. The show is available anywhere you get your podcasts, wherever you listen, including Bleav.com and YouTube too. Subscribe to the show, rate the show, and if you liked it, write a review for it. Again, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Bleav in Softball. That's BLEAV. You can reach out to me personally on Twitter at JennaBecerra01 and Instagram at JennaBecerra as well. As always, thank you for tuning in and catch you soon.